What's up, everyone? Welcome to LA AV Club Podcast. My name is Jared.
I'm Aaron.
We're filmmakers living and working here in Hollywood. We work on mainstream big productions all the way down to small run and gun productions.
Yeah, and we wanted a spot to test out some new ideas of smaller content. And so we kind of created this setup. It's live cut, live
Streamed
if we wanted. And yeah, it's sick.
Yeah, we also had nothing else to do because it's quarantine.
Yeah, and speaking of quarantine, some people are staying productive.
Yeah, like our guy, Marco, who's on the show today.
Yeah, Marco's great. I've actually met him at the gym, and we found out we both have the same cameras, and then started talking more and more, and it turns out like he's a filmmaker, he's a director, he's really good with VFX and green screen stuff.
He's even won some like awards, and he's also got some like development deals based on some of the concepts he's come up with.
Yeah, which is pretty cool, because that's kind of rare, to be honest, anymore.
For sure.
Marco stayed busy during quarantine doing Daze of Distance, which is kind of like a short film soap opera. I don't know what exactly you'd want to call it, but all done remote filming, remote directing via, however he can.
Yeah.
Respecting social distancing to a T.
Exactly.
Like
but even still making it short, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let's head all the way about 2 blocks away to see my friend I haven't seen in person in months.
What's up, Marco? Cool. Thanks for coming on the show, Marco. We appreciate you doing this.
Of course. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice to be talking to people.
Yeah, right. This is like the only thing I do that's social.
Yeah.
And it's
virtual. Yeah.
Virtually social. I guess, to try to keep busy, you came up with this idea for, days. What is it? Daze of Distance?
We settled on Daze of Distance because I wanted it to have sort of like a tongue-in-cheek quarantine name, but I didn't necessarily want people to think that it was about being in quarantine, even though it also felt like a soap opera title,
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah. Well, explain what it is.
It's a parody, basically, of soap operas. That's kind of what it was intended to be. Is when we first went into quarantine, I was working remotely from home. I was talking to my wife, Tiffany, who, Aaron. Yeah. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if they still made shows, but like instead of everyone being in the studio, they were just sort of saying their lines at home, and then they just edited it together to make it seem like it was one coherent story and show. But for me, it was like the funnier aspect of it, or the more entertaining aspect of it, would be if everyone is treating it as if they are doing a serious scene, but it is clearly obvious that it is not in the same place nor the same room, and there's no attempt to make the continuity work. Yeah. Because why? I mean, at that point, it's like, why would you?
Well, it's funny because you can tell they're not in the same room, but it's not terrible either. Like it kind of works.
That was my first thought. It took a minute to notice. I was just like, oh, I get it. Okay, see, like, yeah.
I mean, part of the joke of the very first episode that we did is that everyone filmed their scenes in the kitchen. Like, it wasn't intended. It's just that's where everyone decided to film their scenes. So if you go back and watch it again, it's like this endless kitchen.
Yeah.
Every time it cuts, it just seems like the kitchen is just this massive space. You can't tell.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you actually execute it? I guess explain what it is.
The technical aspect of it is like everyone is at home quarantining, or wherever it is they happen to be at that particular moment. Wherever they had to like hunker down and stay, that's where they would just kind of self-tape, almost like the way actors do when they're auditioning for something remotely. Yeah. The first episode that we did, there was like very little direction. I just sent them a script and I said, do the lines like you would if you were auditioning for something. If you have a significant other that you're quarantining with, see if like maybe they'll keep the framing or something.
Yeah, because Caleb is filming Sam, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, these people, they're talented actors, but they're not filmmakers. So framing and composition are not really things that's like second nature to them. So it actually turned out to be a lot more work for me, because when they sent the footage back, I had to reframe things and kind of like scoot things over a little bit, just so the eye lines matched, and because otherwise what would have wound up happening was it would have seemed so amateur and so weird that you would have gotten tired of watching it and been like, I don't get it.
Yeah, you fix the eye lines well, because they always look like they're actually talking to each other.
Yeah, and that was really tricky. Like by the time we started playing around with like more complicated things, when we saw that the first one worked kind of well, the second one it was like, let's try to see what else we can do.
Yeah, there was camera movements and stuff at some point.
Yeah. And that actually required some subtle VFX work where it was like I had to kind of paint out a wall at one point because it was too jarring, the jump. It's like the whole point of it was not necessarily like to have this, for sure, to have a jokey like IG video sort of gimmicky thing to entertain people, but also to kind of show people that like, you can still tell a story and kind of make it work. Yeah. As long as certain things flow. Yeah. You know?
Well, it's funny because you almost have to be a very experienced filmmaker in a way to make something like this work. Yeah. Because I've been on sets where we're filming a conversation with two people talking to each other, yet it doesn't look like they're talking to each other. And you're like,
you have to. Yeah. Eye lines are tough. Like because the second episode that we did involved a dinner scene or like a scene where they're all drinking wine. The fun aspect of that episode was that like the joke was they're all drinking wine together and there's something nefarious happening and they, you're kind of like, what's going to happen? But the thing that I learned was that it was just so much more work to just let the actors like have free reign over how they filmed it. So by the time we got to the third one, it was like, okay, now I'm drawing storyboards, and now this has become like a thing. Yeah. It's become way bigger of a thing than it needed to be. But it was like, okay, we want to keep it going and we want to keep the flow and introduce more action. Yeah. We kind of have to have a little bit of rules.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it definitely gets a little more complicated as it goes.
Yeah, I mean, people are asking like, when are you going to do for the fourth one? And I was like, I don't even. Fourth one.
You're like, how long are we locked up for?
Yeah, I know. It's like this wasn't even supposed to last 2.
Yeah. So how long does it take you to make them? Like each one?
It depends. This last one took a long time, so because we have more actors involved in the fourth one, and one actor who unfortunately I couldn't use her footage. It just didn't fit the vibe of the rest of the piece. And I felt really bad because I asked this person to do me a favor and self-tape and all this stuff. Yeah. So I had to ask Sam if she would play yet another character and redo those. So that one took like maybe 2 weeks, but the previous ones only took a couple days.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for, yeah. Did you ever consider did you direct over Zoom or you kind of just sent them the script, let them kind of shoot and act how they wanted to do or?
Yeah. I thought it would be less funny if it was too directed.
Okay.
I could see that.
So allowing the actors to do it however they envisioned it was kind of funny because then I could see like how much differently you could interpret the same thing. Yeah. But I also have like a really solid group of friends like Eddie and Sam and John who we all kind of have the same sense of humor. So I feel like they got it. And then James Bain, the guy who plays this thug character Torgo in the last one, I had never met him prior to asking him to do this. And he got it right away. He was so good at it. I think he shot all of his scenes at like 3 a.m. in his apartment building and used like the entire apartment building to his advantage.
That's awesome. Writing it wise, I mean, you had to kind of make it simple. I mean, it's not like some great masterpiece of literature, but it's actually somewhat difficult to write something in the way it's done.
It wasn't too hard. I mean, I wrote it the same way that you would write any other scene, but I think the thing that helped was the fact that I'm not taking it seriously. Yeah. Like what you said, like it's not high art. I'm not trying to make a statement or anything. So it was like, let's just make this as tropey and cliche soap opera as possible, because soap operas to me are hilarious because of how committed the actors are to some of the most, ridiculous dialogue and stuff. So it was like, okay, let's bring like that energy to this and then we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, it definitely plays like a soap opera. So, I mean, you nailed it.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like the editing is really good because the pacing of the conversation, not having filmed it together, I guess that's kind of what I was getting at more than even the writing, was the way you've paced the editing, it actually feels back, like it feels true to how it would be.
Yeah, it's kind of, I was kind of worried about it too because, we're so used to having a close-up and over-the-shoulder, a 2-shot, and you don't get that in this. And at one point I was even considering like, should I film my shoulder and like crop that in to make it look like, but then it was just like, no, the pacing of the rapid fire way that the lines are coming out, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You don't need the establishing shot because you can't get it anyways.
Yeah. And I mean, also it's been a great lesson for me too. And seeing like what we can accomplish with like, you really start to get a sense of like, wow, maybe we are kind of like overdoing.
Yeah. That's, us doing this thing has taught me. I'm like, we're doing it. And I watch, like Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, and looking at it going, they have way more writers than we do, but like the quality of what we're putting out visually is way better than half the stuff that, you know, $1 million shows are doing.
Yeah, with a couple lights and a C-stand,
And it's like, it's not that complicated.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always been a proponent of it doesn't matter what you have, just what you do with it.
Yeah.
Like the tools don't really matter. You know, everyone gets hung up over like cameras and sensors and lenses and mirrorless and whatever, all this other stuff. How much, you know, do you have a gimbal? Do you not? You know, if you can tell a story and people are engaged by it, then really job well done. You know, you did it.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a conversation we have a lot actually, is just like people get, like you said, so hung up on like some of the technical stuff and like the tools of the trade. And
but I mean, I won't shoot slow motion unless it's on a red. Like for me, I'm just like, it looks so bad on everything else that I'm like, yeah, if we're shooting slow motion, we have to shoot this on red. Like nothing.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm pretty.
Well,
much
I'm noting that. I'm gonna file that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll use that.
Yeah, it's the red just does high frame rate so well. I guess you can do some stuff on like on Alexa and whatnot, but it's still.
I mean, and even like a Sony is kind of, that's its only thing is slow motion.
Yeah, but I don't want to go near them.
Marco, what would you say like are the top 3 things you've learned from doing this?
Well, this is the kind of stuff I love to do. Like, first of all, I grew up really admiring people like Roger Corman and those underdogs who like were not in the studio system and like just had to make things work. And I loved that stuff. I was very impatient. I'm an impatient filmmaker, so this is like perfect for me. But part of the things I loved about it and what I've learned about it is like you really can be super economical about the way you shoot your scenes now. Or you always could have been. And I'm learning more and more how to tell the story economically without sacrificing the quality. It's just, what do we need 100% in order to tell the story that we're trying to tell?
Yeah.
Not having a drone didn't matter. Not having, you know, a red, not being able to shoot 120 FPS, like none of that mattered. And that was really a really cool eye-opening moment. Additionally, I learned that having someone score your film rather than just like cobbling together stock music or whatever. At first I was like, I don't want to involve another person because this is already getting a little too complicated for me and I just want to get it over with. But Jerome, who also goes to Brick, we go to Brick, our CrossFit gym. That's how we all met.
He likes to talk about his fitness a lot.
Yeah, so I drink the Kool-Aid too. But Jerome is someone who also goes to our gym, who offered to do the music for episode 3. And I sent him a video with time code overlaid on it, and he scored it to the T.
Oh,
and
cool.
It was awesome because that amped it up to a level that I wouldn't have been able to do. It just really cranked it up a notch.
Yeah, and it helps it flow.
So having original music is awesome. I know it's not a luxury everyone has, but if you have the chance, definitely get your own music in there.
It's well worth it. Yeah.
So this whole process sounds like a lot of work. Why did you do it?
I knew it was going to be a long haul. I worked for a VFX company that, we were about to deliver a project and I knew that nothing was going to be available once we delivered it. And that's exactly what happened. And so I kind of saw this as an opportunity to not get in a slump. Yeah. And, it's silly and it's relatively easy to execute. It's definitely a lot of work on a laptop for a day or two. But it was just really like I wanted to continue to tell stories. I wanted to continue to be creative, in this weird new normal that we're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the same exact thing of why we started doing this.
That's why we're doing this.
It was like a client service, a product we could sell to clients in a form. We were working on it, and then this happened. Is like, I guess we'll just do it on ourselves for now. And it's taught us so much that it's so streamlined at this point. It's ridiculous. Other than, not remembering we needed headphones to hear you.
Small detail.
Yeah.
Small detail.
But there's 2 of us,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people out there are starting to discover that, they have not been hindered by, being in quarantine. And in fact, it's kind of challenged us to try a little bit more.
And you learn in a weird way, I've learned a whole bunch of stuff that I will use in regular filmmaking or commercials or whatever from this. as well as a whole different way to do this kind of thing. So I'm sure you've like picked up things where you're like, yeah, like what do we need for this scene? Can I skip
my establishing
or
wide of
triple
everything
coverage or something?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, the other types of knowledge that I gained from it were like I had to do some tutorials to figure out how to do some stuff I had never tried before. So now it's like, oh, I know how to do that now. I never wanted to know how to do that.
Yeah.
But now that I know how, it's like, great, let's use that again at some point.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you're saying that because there's a couple other people that we know. The first one I saw is Brittany Westwood did a remote photo shoot right away. And I didn't understand how it worked. I just saw the images. And then this girl, Roxy Rodriguez, hosted a couple really cool remote shoots. Again, not exactly sure how she did them.
It's just kind of cool. Like, people are turning FaceTime into
into a tool.
Into like a
Angelo Kritos. Angelo's stuff with Demi Lovato. He's my buddy. He's a photographer. His things are cool.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've seen his stuff.
I'll have to send you a link, but like he has some images of Demi Lovato and then some videos, like a video shoot, photo shoot, whatever. And he's done some with the Nikita Dragun girl. Mm-hmm. They're like really cool little 30-second videos that a client would pay you to make for them. You know, like
for sure.
It's weird. It's pretty cool to see all that kind of stuff, though.
I'll be real curious to see what we learn from this once everything kind of settles and we go back to like what things used to be like, or as much as we can.
I think it just comes out of the old school way. The old school way was you needed a stage, you needed a massive crew and a techno crane and like a massive production to make these things. And now it's kind of just forced everyone to like, it's like, what is it like? Necessity is the mother, or limitation is the mother of creativity kind of a thing. And it just kind of forced everyone to think outside the box about how to do this. Exactly. I mean,
we had to do that. We were basically like, how do we do this without anybody?
Yeah,
it's like, all right, put all these cameras on one C-stand and then the light on top of it. Done.
And Marco's like, how do I shoot a short without being in the room?
And you're like, all right.
How do I shoot a short without shooting the short? So
yeah, exactly. It was I directed, but just by sending everyone an email and waiting for them to do all the work.
Quick question, like, so I know you kind of let the actors kind of like interpret things as they wanted to, and that's kind of the fun part. Did you give them any kind of direction at all, or was there any kind of character breakdown or anything, or was it pretty much just like script and you interpret this how you want?
The emails that I would send them were like little diagrams. So I would send them like legitimate old school script pages, with like the breakdown of who your character is, what maybe their backstory is, or more of just like, this is the kind of character this is in this type of movie or this type of show.
It's an archetype.
Yeah. So I have some illustration skills, so I was able to like draw out some storyboards with like framing, and I separated the frame into thirds and just said like, keep yourself within this side of the frame, actor A, actor B, keep yourself on this side. That third episode that we did, the actors were great. They followed all the instructions and they were able to give me some stuff with very like minor tweaks were made to some shots just for framing purposes. Some of the more complicated things, like we'd hop on a call, I would just call them and we'd talk it through just to confirm some things and like answer a question or two. But for the most part, it was like, here's your instructions, just follow the instructions, step 1 through 5, and you're good. At this point, we have gotten so good at it that the actors now send me the take number.
Oh, nice.
And like the individual clips now have indication of like their character initials along with the take and whether or not they think it's a select.
Yeah, nice.
That's awesome.
They're AEing it for you already. That's perfect.
I'm like, well, I'll decide if it's a select or not.
That's amazing. Oh, I guess where can people see it?
You can go to my IG page, which is Marco Vision Studios on Instagram. It's also available on YouTube under the same name. But I do suggest watching it on Instagram because it was basically made for that medium. And I think you'll see a lot of the flaws if you look at it in anything other than that. So if you're going to watch it.
Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch.
Perfect. Thank you, Marco. Appreciate it, man.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we get to see each other in person again soon.
Yeah, hopefully sooner than later. But
Aaron should be a character in one of your remote shorts.
I'm not very much an actor.
You could be like a news guy in the background.
There you go. You're an extra.
Something happens to you.
Yeah.
If there's action involved, I probably wouldn't be bad at it. But as long as I don't have dialogue.
Okay.